I was bored lately and had a lot of scrap wood lying around in the house, so I decided to build a floating shelf for the bathroom. So, what I did was I measured the width of the walls near the commode, and then once the width was measured, so I sprung into action. And so, once the width was measured, so using a laser guide, I marked down the height at which I wanted to install the shelf. So here I made two markings, two holes on the sides of the walls and two holes directly on the wall. I was able to find only two studs. So in the studs I directly drilled holes to it, and the places where I couldn't find the stud I used drywall anchors. And also to make the fitment a little bit more stronger, so what I did was I took the help of some liquid nails which we can find in any of the big hardware stores, and I using the liquid nails I made a straight line onto that, and along with the screws fitted into the markings that I have made earlier. Next I measured the length of the wood as per the width we had in the bathroom, but however I marked the measurement such that I cut the wood at least an inch shorter so that it would allow me space to insert the shelf properly, because the walls are not 100% proportional 90 degrees, so it's better to leave a little bit of a gap in them so that it fits into the wall easily, and if there is a remaining gap we can fill it up with the help of latex caulk. As we are making the shelf with the plywood, I didn't want the layered portions of the plywood to show out. So what I did is I adjusted the circular saw to a 45-degree angle and made the necessary cuts so that the plywood layers wouldn't show and it would be a proper mitered or a beveled cut. As making beveled cuts is quite tricky, so I'm making sure that I measure it twice. So as a good saying goes, measure twice, cut once. So I'm just trying to do that. So now that the top end of the shelf is cut, so I'm making another cut for the bottom end as well. So measuring the same width as the top part of the shelf. When making cuts with the circular saw, the piece which we are cutting should always be elevated with the help of scrap wood, else it will cut the bottom table as well. To make sure that we have a straight cut, so I am taking the help of a 1x2 piece of wood and measuring it on both the sides so that it does not cut cross. So once the measurements are made, just to run the circular saw through at the 45-degree angle, and we have the second piece as well. So this is how both the pieces look side by side after a 45-degree cut has been made. So now we need to cut pieces for the front facing as well. So for that we would have to cut the same piece of wood at a 45-degree angle on both ends. Now that we have cut the top and the bottom, we need to cut the front or the face of the shelf. So here we need a small calculation. The scrap wood which we used to fix to the wall is a 1x2 piece of wood. So 1x2 means its actual width is, though it says 2, it's 1.5 mm, and the thickness of the plywood is 0.75 mm. So because we have two sides, so it's 1.5 plus 0.75 plus 0.75, that comes up to 3 inches. So here you can see the wood is 1.5 mm, and this is the thickness of the plank, which is 0.75 mm. So now that we know how much we need to cut, so make a measurement of 3 inches as well, and using the same scrap piece of wood, we can make another cut to it. But here we need to make sure that because we are hiding the edges, so both the cuts need to be made in this directions as shown, so they need to be made inside. The actual shelf size was around 36 inches, but because I'm making the shelf with the help of scrap wood, so I could not find another piece of wood which was completely 36 inches in length. So what I did was I cut two pieces and then I joined it. So if you can see, this is how the final output of the shelf would look like. So you would not be able to see any of the layers of plywood, but a complete snug fit. So because we are joining two pieces of wood and the chances are that they are not exactly at right angles, so with the help of a miter saw, so I cut both the ends of the piece so that we can join it properly using wood glue. So this is the glue that I used. So after the pieces have been glued together and they have been cut, so I'm joining them into one piece. So when joining the wood which are been cut to such miter angles, so it's always better to have them joined by tape. So because if you join both the edges by tape like this, so it's easy to maneuver while placing the glue and you can handle it in a much better way. The bottom end has now been glued and now I'm trying to attach the top end. So for the whole length of the shelf, so use the masking tape as I told earlier so that it's easy to handle. So once the masking tape is done, so the previous one, the bottom end which I did, so it was not screwed together, so just to make it a better fit, so using the help of a nail gun I'm pushing some nails through. So once the gluing is done, again with the help of a nail gun I put some nails through so that it fits in tightly. So now that the shelf is completed, so all the places where we put some nails and stuff and also near the joint, so I'm putting this dry Alex caulk so that we don't see the nails and stuff once the project is completed. And because I will not be painting the shelf but I will be staining it, so this process is mandatory so that it looks neat and clean once it has dried and been sanded. So now that it has dried, I sanded it using a 220 grit paper. Once the sanding is done, I took some rags and used a oil-based stain which is Bombay Mahogany, and because it's a primer and stain two in one, so I didn't need to prime it before I am staining it. And the one of the uses of staining is that the wood becomes a little bit more waterproof, and also it brings out the greens of the wood out, so the shelf or the end product looks really beautiful. Here I am applying only one coat of it, but if you want, or if you want a darker shade, we can put in two coats as well. So once the stain has been coated, so I took some steel wool and sanded it lightly so that if there are any imperfections they would be smoothened out as well, which I did not show in this video unfortunately. So once the shelf has been stained and sanded, so this is how the final product looks like. So once the shelf has been placed in the bathroom, so this is how it looks like, and because it doesn't show up any screws or any fixtures, so that is why it's called a floating shelf. Thank you for watching. All the videos I'm putting are not professional grade videos but just raw footage.